Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Warriors of Chaos, going to be taking on the Lizardmen here in the Chaos Waste, so let's go ahead and jump straight to the army compositions. My lord is going to be Kolek Suneater, of course, best in this matchup by far, anti-large armor piercing, needs no introduction. We've also got a Shadow Sorcerer here. He's got Enfeebling Foe and the Penumbral Pendulum for the area of effect damage and combat stat mitigation. We've got 4 units of Chaos Marauders with 2 Chosen with Halberds, who of course are going to be a huge issue for dinos to deal with. Got 1 unit of Dragon Ogres with a unit of Hounds for support, and we've got 4 units of Marauders with throwing axes, so definitely going to be good at dealing with those big armored dinos. That's pretty much it for my build, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Lizardmen here. 2 Skink Chiefs on Pterodons, immediately going to be going back and starting to skirmish with Kolek. He does have a bit of missile resistance and heavy armor, so he won't take that much damage, but over the course of a long battle he definitely can. Also got 2 Chameleon Skinks, 2 Cold One Spear Riders, a main line of 4 units of Source Warriors with the Temple Guard in the center. Mazdamundi is the lord here on his palanquin on the old toilet seat. I believe, does he have the, let's see here, we'll pop into slow motion just briefly while we look. He does have Ruination of Cities, Banishment, Shield of the Old Ones, Arcane Unforging, Apotheosis, Net of Amontok. Looks like he did not bring his item that gives him additional missile resistance, even though on the chair he already has 40% missile resistance. He's also got a Laser Lizard over here shooting at these units of Marauders, doing some nice damage right off the bat. You can see they're down to 37 unit models. We're going to be pulling up in rage, trying to do some skirmishing. We are going to do some nice damage to the Saurus, and then turn our attention over to the Laser Lizard, who's currently blasting away at these horsemen here. Meanwhile, over on the other side, bit of a skirmish engagement. I'm unfortunately going to get poisoned by these Chameleon Skinks, which is then going to allow the Cold One Spear Riders, once they hit charge speed, to catch these Marauder Horsemen. So you can see the Marauder Horsemen getting caught up by the Cold One Spear Riders here. Definitely going to be a rough situation. Not exactly what I want, but meanwhile we're just pushing straight up the pipe here. My opponent's infantry line isn't honestly too scary to me, considering I've chosen and so on. So we're going to get the Dragon Ogres and the Hounds here in on these Saurus. This is honestly probably a little bit premature, but I was hoping that with Kolek and with everything, we could just terror bomb them real quick. But you see that Apotheosis being dropped there, meaning they are resilient to the fear because they also imbue fear while that effect is up. And a really nice, probably a banishment going to be going down here. Yep, not the best, actually, just doing a lot of damage to those Hounds. It doesn't do much to Kolek or the Dragon Ogres himself. Shield the Old Ones mitigating some of that damage on the Saurus. Meanwhile, Chaos Marauders pushing through. We've got the Sorcerer here, a little bit caught out in this mainline engagement. He's fighting up against Temple Guard, which is definitely not ideal. They have anti-large armor piercing, so they'll be able to take him down relatively quickly. We did drop that Enfeebling Foe, though, bring their combat stats into the dirt. That way they're not able to do as much damage here. Meanwhile, over on the other side, the Chosen with Halberds combined with the Marauders with throwing axes were able to deal with the Laser Lizard relatively easily. He did pop that Cold-Blooded to try and keep it in the fight here. It's healing a little bit, but unfortunately at this point it's lost too much HP. May come back, but we're able to kite off a few of those Skull and Spearman Riders. We've got a nice Penumbral Pendulum right across the line here. Those Spear Riders are coming back, though. I'm going to be bringing my Marauders back relatively shortly. This unit of Marauders on foot got mopped up by the Horned Ones. Oh, those are Horned Ones. Oh, very interesting. So we've got 1 unit of Cold One Riders, not even with spears, and Horned Ones. I just assumed they were Cold One Spear Riders because that's the only thing you ever see. But interesting, very interesting to see Horned Ones. You don't see them too often just because they're relatively expensive, but they can get a lot of work done. And they do have pretty impressive combat stats at 40 attack, only 28 defense, heavy weapon strength though. But you can see we're pushing very aggressively around the back line with the Marauder Horsemen, and also with Kolek himself. You can see him coming in here. The Horned Ones are going to come try and support here. They will do a lot of damage to the Sorcerer, but of course they don't have the anti-large bonus of the Cold One Spear Riders, so probably not as scary at the end of the day. Beyond that fact, we do have Urination of the Cities going down here. Not going to make the best contact rather on those Marauder Horsemen. They're going to be pitching in their little throwing axes from the side here, doing some nice damage on these Horned Ones. Unfortunately, they do get a little bit caught up in the combat here, But meanwhile, this unit of Chosen is doing very well. It's come in to help these Marauders clean up the rest of those Saurus. Mazdamundi dropping another net on Kolek, just keeping him separated, but Kolek turning around and doing a ton of damage to these Horned Ones. And once the Horned Ones go in rage, you're not able to micro them, and that's really tough for an elite tier cavalry, you know, just not being able to micro them. That being said, they are doing some major damage to Kolek at this point, but it's just not going to be enough at the end of the day, I don't think. You can see the Skink Chiefs are continuing to poke away. They've used up most, I say most, a little more than half their ammo just shooting at Kolek here. Chosen are going to be cleaning up these Source Warriors relatively shortly. A nice Lord of the Storm going down right on those Temple Guard and Source Warriors there. They are going to be able to break through those Marauders, but we still have the Chosen fighting over here, so they'll probably want to collapse over that way. Meanwhile, in the back line, it's a very, very tight engagement. Kolek trying desperately to get away from these Chameleon Skinks here and the Horned Ones and so on. We're bringing the Marauder Horsemen around for some additional support here. We're just going to charge in on the Chameleon Skinks to try and spring Kolek free. He is being poisoned. He's exhausted at this point, very tired rather. And my opponent doing a good job screening out with these Chameleon Skinks. At this point, we've been able to do some damage to Mazdamundi. He's going to be dropping another banishment right on top of those Chosen with Halberds. Does some really nice damage, actually, especially because it kind of turned, sat there for a minute, and is now coming back towards them, on top of them. That being said, though, Mazdamundi I don't think is too much longer for this world. Kolek has mostly caught up with him. My opponent is going to continue to try and path away here, but between the Marauder Horsemen and Kolek, we should be able to get Mazdamundi here, but just another net. And at this point, Kolek is getting very low. He's very low on HP, only 2,000 HP at that point, but another enfeebling foe on Lord Mazdamundi. I was going to attack him with the Wizard, but then the Wizard immediately routs. But as soon as that net goes down, we're going to charge in on Mazdamundi. That being said, we've pretty much cleaned up the rest of the infantry here. This unit of Chosen beating down that unit of Source Warriors, and now on the Temple Guard as well. But here comes Kolek out of the nets, finally going to be smacking on the Toad Lord here. So Mazdamundi looks like dropping Apotheosis on himself, trying to keep himself in the fight as long as possible here. But the Marauders at this point are just swarming him. Kolek, only 1 or 2 attacks, should be able to take him down. That being said, Kolek is very, very low. Those Skink Chiefs do still have some ammo left, as do these Chameleon Skinks as well. But I'm just trying desperately to pin Mazdamundi in, but he honestly has the mass to push through these light cavalry, so they're not going to be able to hold him back. That being said, we are able to get some attack animations from Kolek. He should be able to take down the Toad Lord relatively shortly here. Let's see. Mazdamundi getting some nice zap attacks here, but not too much longer for this world. There we go, off his throne and zapped up into space. At that, the balance of power is finally going to turn in my favor. It's been very, very close up to this point. You can see these Temple Guard fighting in the pits. A very pitched engagement up against these Chosen. Really nice late game engagement here. We're getting the Marauders for a rear charge, and that pretty much should be it. At this point, we just have to clean up the forces on the ground, and these 2 Skink Chiefs on the Pterodons should rout. To that effect, we're using these Marauder Horsemen and Kolek to just kind of tear route away these Skinks. Obviously, the rest of the infantry is cleaning up the rest of those Temple Guard there. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit through this cleanup phase here, as the battle is pretty much decided at this point. But, man, those Skink Chiefs, I was not sure if they were going to be able to finish off Kolek here. You can see he's down to only 700 hit points by the end, but we are able to pull out. And yeah, very well played to my opponent, Angry Beaver. Super close battle. If I would have lost Kolek at any point, then it would have been really bad for the leadership of my forces. That being said, he didn't really have too much that could deal with the Chosen. And you saw this one unit completely healthy, 48 kills, no XP chevrons though, but still almost completely healthy. 107 on these Chosen. The Marauders did alright in the front line, but definitely the Marauder Horsemen with the throwing axes doing some great work against the Bastiladon and also helping to support the Horned Ones. But really, Kolek's the true MVP here, just taking it to the Lizard Men there. The Dragon Ogres and the Hounds honestly didn't do too well. They're more meant if my opponent has something like Krokar. I honestly think this build is pretty decent, though. Mazdamundi on the Palanquin. Let's go ahead and have a look at him just briefly here. And so Mazdamundi, if you take him on the Palanquin, he does have that 40% missile resistance. If you take this Sunburst Standard of Hexoatl, it gives him an additional 12% missile resistance and 9 melee defense, so that puts him up to a total of 52% missile resistance. I would definitely say Arcane and Forging can be decent, but I usually tend to cut it. Apotheosis is good. Against Chaos, I would probably say take Curse of the Midnight Wind, maybe Harmonic Convergence, but definitely Apotheosis, Curse the Midnight Wind, and Net of Ammontok. You may want to cut Rolling Skies. I really don't think the lore attribute is worth it in this particular matchup, but something like this, because the Curse the Midnight Wind will allow your Saurus warriors to trade much more effectively with elite tier Chaos Infantry. So something like this, you could even say, rather than the Chameleon Skinks, since you have the Pterodon Riders up in the air anyway, the Skink Chiefs on the Pterodons rather, so if we go ahead and put them on here, cut down as you would, I honestly think it's better to forego the Chameleon Skinks and go with the Pterodon Riders. You have the dropped rocks, they're up in the air, so they're not as vulnerable, especially because you have the Skink Chiefs anyway up in the air, so they can kind of support in that way. The Laser Lizard's a pretty solid option. You can kind of apply that blind and so on, and then just, yeah, the Curse of the Midnight Wind from Mazda Mundi I think would be very helpful there as well. It may be worth having, rather than bringing the Horned Ones and so on, I'd probably just grab 2 units of the Cold One Spear Riders. They have the Anti-Large and Armor Piercing. Obviously their combat stats aren't as good as the Horned Ones, but they're significantly cheaper, and they don't have this Primal Instincts issue that the Horned Ones have. So I definitely think they're potentially a better pick. It's a little bit rough. They won't trade evenly with something like, say, Chaos Knights with Lances, but, you know, they'll be able to do some damage against someone like Kolek or Dragon Ogres or so on. So just a few thoughts for you guys on this matchup. It's a very fun matchup, very dynamic, a lot of different ways you can go. But hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this battle. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Keep it right here for all your Total War Warhammer 2 daily content, and we'll see you next time.